The New York Yankees are about to make a quiet decision, but one with playoff-level weight. The kind of move that doesn't make headlines, yet shapes what comes next. With DJ LeMahieu's return virtually confirmed for this weekend, the franchise will need to clear a spot on the active 26-man roster. And that choice puts two players face-to-face, each at opposite points in their careers. Oswald Peraza and Pablo Reyes. One represents years of internal development, the other immediate security, but with no future guarantees. Seemingly simple, this decision carries deep implications, because Peraza no longer has minor league options. If he's designated for assignment, he'll go through waivers, and any of the other 29 teams could claim him without giving anything in return. Losing a young talent that way, especially in a season filled with injuries and adjustments, would be a blow. But keeping a player who has yet to establish himself in the majors, despite repeated opportunities, can be just as risky for a team with championship ambitions. If you're a Yankees fan, or just follow MLB with an eye for what happens beyond the field, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Here, we focus on what many ignore, the silent impact of behind-the-scenes decisions, the kind that often define the season. Peraza is just 24 years old, an infielder who years ago was projected as part of the Yankees' future core. Defensively skilled, capable of playing second base, shortstop, and third, he fits the mold the Yankees typically value: versatility, youth, and high ceiling. But his on-field production hasn't lived up to the hype. In 2025, he's batting .205 with a .612 OPS. These numbers aren't new. Since arriving in the majors, Peraza has struggled to maintain offensive consistency. A shoulder injury in 2024 cut short a moment of progress and further eroded his confidence and rhythm. But here's the key piece of the equation. Because he's out of options, Peraza must stay on the active roster, or he'll be exposed to waivers. And he's exactly the kind of player who, despite flaws, holds value for other franchises willing to invest in his development. The risk is clear, losing a talent that may still bloom for nothing. On the other side is Pablo Reyes. At 31, Reyes doesn't carry the same pedigree of promise, but he brings the experience of someone who's moved across different clubs and roles. During spring training, he impressed with a mature and steady approach. He earned a spot on the Yankees roster as a reliable option, a plug-in for emergency situations. And that's exactly what happened. During Jazz Chisholm Jr.'s injury, Reyes got the call. But on the field, his impact was minimal, with just a .158 batting average, a .208 on-base percentage, and a .188 slugging. He barely saw real action. The Yankees simply don't see him as part of the long-term plan. He's essentially a placeholder. But sometimes, placeholders are necessary, especially when LeMahieu's return raises its own questions. The veteran infielder and former batting champion had a shortened spring due to a calf strain. And more concerning, he's dealt with recurring physical issues since 2021. While he's ready to return, no one, not even the coaching staff, knows how long he can stay healthy. The last thing the Yankees need is a repeat of 2023, when a string of injuries completely destabilized the infield rotation and hurt offensive production for months. It's in this unstable context that the choice between Peraza and Reyes takes on greater weight. This isn't just about performance. It's about strategy, about managing risk, about maintaining depth without losing valuable assets. Reyes might be a safety net, but Peraza is still a prospect. And letting him go could be an irreversible mistake. More than that, this decision doesn't happen in a vacuum. The locker room atmosphere, the relationship with young talent, the organization's image as a place that still playing at a high level, prospect a chance, represents all of that is at stake. If the Yankees give up on Peraza now, what message does that send to the next in line within the farm system? But at the same time, keeping Peraza just out of fear of losing him could become an anchor. A team aiming for October has to live in the present. It has to move with confidence. And that confidence often requires unpopular decisions. In the end, the Yankees face a quiet but critical fork in the road. Bet on the promise, or protect the structure. Trust in LeMahieu's full recovery, or keep an extra layer of infield depth. There's no easy answer, just paths with very different consequences. Now I want to hear from you. If you were Brian Cashman today, what would you do? Would you designate Peraza and risk seeing him wear another uniform? Or would you let go of Reyes and go all in on LeMahieu's recovery and consistency? Leave your comment below. Let's build this debate together. What began as a simple roster decision is quickly turning into a strategic puzzle behind the scenes in the Bronx. The Yankees, stacking both hopes and uncertainties this season, now face two parallel situations that could shape the future of the franchise, both on and off the field. The return of DJ LeMahieu and the dilemma surrounding Oswald Peraza have already stirred enough tension among fans. But now, as the bullpen starts to bleed, the front office faces a new standoff, one with a name, numbers, and massive consequences for October. First, the infield dilemma. LeMahieu's return should be good news. A veteran with a steady glove and the ability to deliver clutch hits. But how do you fit him into an already tight roster? Someone will have to go, and all signs point to one name, Oswald Peraza. A painful choice. Peraza is more than just a player. He represents years of investment from a franchise. A gem that once shined in the minors but never quite delivered when it truly mattered. His 2024 numbers are cold. A .205 batting average, a .612 OPS, and no guarantee of consistency. Injuries disrupted his rhythm, time passed, and the Yankees are running out of room to wait. The drama intensifies with one harsh technical detail. Peraza is out of minor league options. If removed from the 26-man roster, he enters waivers, meaning he could be claimed by another team for nothing in return. An asset lost. On the other hand, Pablo Reyes, while far less promising, is easily expendable. A useful veteran, but with a much lower ceiling. And yet, today, more reliable. The decision hasn't been announced, but behind the doors at Yankee Stadium, executives are already weighing something bigger, because this infield issue is just the first of several critical choices. The next, maybe even more urgent, is in the bullpen. Because while Cashman and Boone debate who will be the backup infielder, the mound blew up. Devin Williams, the big December acquisition, arrived with elite pedigree. A respected closer, former Brewers star, owner of a devastating changeup. But since putting on the Yankees uniform, something hasn't clicked. The pressure? The spotlight? The pinstripes? Hard to say. But the numbers speak for themselves. An ERA over 10.00. A stat that seems impossible until you watch his recent outings. This past Monday, against the Padres, Williams was brought in during the 8th inning with a 3-0 lead. Game under control, a favorable setting. But few pitches later, all collapsed. The lead vanished. The win turned into a loss. The stadium went silent. Then on Wednesday, a brief flash of redemption. With the bases loaded in 10th, he struck out Xander Bogaerts to escape the jam. But one isolated moment doesn't erase the record. He remains the most volatile arm in the bullpen. And for a team with championship ambitions, that's a risk too big to tolerate. Aaron Boone saw it, pulled back, handed the closer role back to Luke Weaver, a name that delivered in 2024, but who still doesn't inspire full confidence. In fact, he gave up the decisive run right after replacing Williams. In short, the Yankees don't currently have a reliable closer, and everyone knows what that means come October. That's why, behind the scenes, a bold proposal is gaining traction, one that might seem unlikely but is starting to make more and more sense: bringing Kenley Jansen to the Bronx. At 37, Jansen is more than a name. He's a living legend. 4th all-time in MLB saves with 454, just behind Lee Smith, who recorded 478 before entering the Hall of Fame. And that stat fuels a rumor: Jansen wants that milestone. And with the Angels sinking at the bottom of the standings, that goal feels out of reach. But in the Bronx, with real playoff chances, the dream reignites. And despite still signing at high levels on a one-year $10 million deal, a short-term contract with no clear future, he would be a classic rental. Arrive, bring stability in October, and move on. And the most surprising part? The price could be symbolic for the Yankees. It might only take 2 young high-A arms, Cade Smith and Kyle Carr, ranked 14th and 18th in the Yankee system, to get it done. Carr, a lefty with good control. Smith, a right-hander with bullpen upside. Neither is considered key to 2025 or 2026. But for Anaheim, they'd mark the start of another rebuild. And for the Yankees, it would be like trading minor promises for immediate security, a rare and valuable currency when the championship window is open. Just imagine Kenley Jansen, wearing number 74, entering Yankee Stadium as the lights dim for the 9th inning. The crowd on its feet, the tension peaking. And him, as he did so many times in Los Angeles and Boston, executing with surgical calm. He'd be the perfect antidote to Williams' instability and the final push this team needs. At the same time, it's a short-term gamble. If Jansen gets hurt, or if age finally catches up to him, the Yankees give up 2 young arms for nothing. But is it really nothing? Because if he delivers in October, if he's the one who closes out a win over Houston in the ALCS, it's worth any price. The decision is coming. Boone and Cashman don't have much time. Meanwhile, fans can only watch, speculate, and wait. So now we want to hear from you. Should the Yankees try to salvage Devin Williams and risk the consequences? Or should they go for the safe bet in Kenley Jansen, even if it costs 2 farm system prospects? Tell us in the comments. This is a debate that's going to heat up the entire month of May in the Bronx. And of course, if you want to keep following every twist in this potential trade, every roster decision, and the Yankees' secret plan to return to the World Series, subscribe to the channel right now. Hit like, share this with that friend who lives and breathes baseball, and turn on notifications. Because in the next video, we're going to reveal which other names are on the radar to bolster the rotation, and what else might change before the deadline. The season has barely started, but in the Bronx, the clock is already ticking like it's October.